we picked a terrific day for it. National Economic Council Director, my good friend,
National Economic Council Director, my good friend, Kevin Hassett, who's going to be really busy. Hello, Kevin. Kevin, let's just start. Mr. Trump fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner. What's your take on that? Do you think the BLS is guilty of political manipulating with all of these downward revisions? Greater than well, I think that what you can do is you can look at the numbers and see what's been happening. And basically, the Bulls has been revising numbers all over the place in a way that makes it so that I don't think anybody really can trust that. The numbers are right whichever way they're going, and as an example, right now we're looking at the mean typical revision, since COVID north of 80,000. The revision over the last 2 months outside of COVID was the biggest revision since the 1970s, and so basically what happens? The data got very, very noisy and awful during COVID because it was so hard to do surveys. And then it really just didn't get better. So I think it is a good time for a fresh set of eyes to look at what the heck is going on, because the labor numbers are so important. It's so important that people trust them and that they're not being revised all over the place all the time. Larry, nitrogen monoxide. I agree. Look, I think Mr. Trump, he should be able to name his own team across the board, and I wanted to get to the Federal Reserve Board. Adriana Kugler resigned today. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin Hassett, but first of all, as of August 8th when, I guess, her resignation's effective, the president can immediately appoint his own person to the Board of Governors. And I also think he could name that person as chair. Is that possible? I think that what would happen would be the people would pursue nominating a replacement for her right now and await what happens with Jay Powell. That would be the normal course of things. Larry, well, I think it's going to happen. Won't he put somebody in there pretty fast? Greater than with, well, it would have to go through Senate confirmation. Larry, acting governor. Can you do that? Greater than I've never seen an acting governor. No, Larry, well, who knows? There's a lot of things we've never seen before, but my point here is a simple one, I think. I think Jay Powell should have resigned in good conscience, not politically. Jay, look. Trump can name his own team. That's all. His own team, across the board. Whether it's the Federal Trade Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Reserve Board, the Consumer Finance, blah, blah, blah. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, he was elected by the people, and if that person doesn't shape up, then if they do a bad job, Mr. Trump will, take the penalty or the Republican Party will. But I don't know why he can't do that. It seems to me it's right there. Greater than well, right? I think this White House, as the president has said and emphasized over and over, respects the independence of the Fed, but we also reserve the right to disagree with them on policy. And if you look at the sequence of policy errors that the Fed has made over the last few years, it's really quite chilling, and once again it's clear that they've been too late to cut rates. This is something the president has been talking about for months, and he's got free speech rights. He's allowed to voice his pin on that. Larry, heck, yeah, he's a taxpayer. He's got a right to be able to. Let's get serious. The other thing is, look, Mickey Bowman to Senate and Chris Waller to Senate, and Waller's actually predicted that there would be downward revisions. But they're both saying the same thing. Look through the tariffs. There's nitrogen monoxide tariff inflation. There may be somewhat time pops here and there, and Waller's saying that the private sector job growth is at, quote, stall speed. So I'm kind of worried about that. Today's report, it doesn't signal a recession, but to me, the Fed's tight money is risking some kind of downturn unless the policy changes. What do you think? Greater than right, the Fed policy really should change. It's something the president has emphasized over and over. The big, beautiful bill is taking effect right now. And so the effect, we expect that will put more emphasis or positive momentum for growth, but it won't create inflation because, as you know, if you have a supply side increase in growth, that actually puts downward pressure on price. It's not inflationary, so there's plenty of room for the Federal Reserve to do the right thing and to move rates back to about where they belong. And I think that it is true that this revision surprised markets quite a bit and was consistent with what the president's been saying about Fed policy. Larry, So let's go to the trade thing just for a moment or two. People predicting a catastrophe over tariffs have been wrong. I know the markets are unsettled today because of the lousy jobs number, but basically you've had a fabulous stock market. The economy is above water. It's got housing's in recession, but business is doing very well. You've got a lot of direct investment coming in overseas. We had Howard Lutnick on last night who was absolutely terrific. I kind of look at this. You know, the average tariff's going to be about 15%. And that's a small price to pay to do business in the United States. And meanwhile, the key part that Mr. Trump has done that nitrogen monoxide one else has done is not only encouraging massive new private investment, but these governments are going to be the investing in the United States, whether it's for energy or national security, whatever. I mean, this is a new wrinkle on trade policy, but I don't think people appreciate what he's doing here. Greater than, yeah, this is really a historic moment. The most historic moment 9 in trade history across the entire global economy. If you think about IT, we've got countries lining up to open up their markets to our products so that our farmers can sell into those markets, that our small businessmen can sell into those markets. Except they're also agreeing to let US charge 10, 15, sometimes a little bit more tariff, which is producing really over 10 years. It's going to be trillions and trillions of dollars of revenue that isn't going to be coming out of taxes, but rather very often be borne by foreign countries and companies. It's a revolutionary trade victory for President Trump. And the fact that we're getting all of these collegial agreements to open their markets, which was impossible. People thought that would be impossible. And to agree to row US to have that tariff and not allow US to have that tariff and not create a trade war or trade dispute about IT is really a masterful touch by the president. Larry, this is a triumph of trade dealing and diplomacy. There's nitrogen monoxide retaliatory trade war. Greater than IT is. Larry, that's not happened. This is a completely different situation. I keep telling people this every night. IT's not the 1930s, all right? He's doing a deal. They all flocked here. They're doing deals. Greater than right. Larry, right? Where's this war? Greater than there is nitrogen monoxide trade war. Larry, what I see is diplomacy. Well, after you've been the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, you are presently the director of the Down Similar of Economic. If President Trump asks you to run the Federal Reserve Board, would you accept that offer? Greater than I've got the best job in the world, as you know, being the director of the National Economic Council, and I'm not going to comment on that specific question. Larry, all right. I'll leave it there, but I had to ask. Greater than I knew IT. Laughter, Larry, you knew IT was